Aloha from the Great Pacific Northwest, the HQ of Indie Agency News. Thank you so much for your support of our work. Yeah, we're just like a little baby publication. We're just a baby publication, but we're getting there. We're getting there. And we have big ambitions. And thank you to all of you who have supported our work so far. And those of you who jump in, and our guest coming up here definitely fits that bill. What is Indie Agency News? Our brief is very simple. Build the global home for independent agencies, and our mission is serving independent agencies and the brilliant people behind them. And part of this is thinking. So we call it op-ed, we call it thought leadership, we call it whatever we want to call it, and that's fine. And we love that. We love that. But we're doing things a little bit differently here. We'd prefer to call it thinking. We prefer to call it indie thinking because indies definitely have a point of view. They have a strong point of view. And we decided that we wanted the op-ed to come to life. So that's the very simple premise of this whole thing, is that we want op-eds to come to life. And if you would like to share your opinion, now, if you want to do a written thing, if you want to do the written thing, that's fine. You know, you pitch us. Just go to indieagency.news. You'll be able to send it. If you want to write, that's fine. But if you want it to come to life like it is today, let us know as well. Before we get started, I'm going to play this gentleman's agency's reel. One moment. That is that's a beefy little reel there. Will Trowbridge, founder of Saylor, Saylor.
That's right.
You didn't tell me you had the Tennessee Titans, though. That we're gonna have to talk about a little bit later. No, but that's great work. That's great work. And the way I want to tee this up, and the way that we're teeing up indie thinking here, is we let our guests monologue for a minute, and then we ask some questions. So the premise of this, the title of this, is how to be the agency your brand client needs. And that is a big subject, and I can't wait to hear what Will has to say. So Will, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Doug. And thanks for having me on. So like Doug mentioned, I'm Will. I'm the founder of Saylor, which is a creative agency and content studio based here in LA. So our mission at Saylor is to be the agency brands want to work with over and over. I mean, I assume every agency has that mission, but it's really grounded in the want to be the agency many of us on our team, including myself, wish we had when we were on the client side. So to give you some context, I launched Saylor after working in-house leading digital marketing teams at Disney and Netflix for the past 10 years. For Disney, I became their actual first in-house digital producer, writing, directing, and producing original content for their many digital platforms. That was kind of my first, foot in the door there. And then after that, led Disney's branded content creative team before expanding to oversee content strategy for Disney's brands and franchises. So after Disney, moved to Netflix, and where I spent 3 years creating and executing the digital content strategy and social strategy for Netflix is a Joke, which is the streamer's comedy marketing arm. So anyway, all this to say, I've been lucky to work with many advertising agencies at both Disney and Netflix over the past 10 years. Many were incredible partners, right? You have to hope that the agencies you hire really kind of exceed your expectations, and some also miss the mark, right? And each experience taught me what brand clients actually look for in their agencies. I brought all those learnings with me to Saylor to create kind of a uniquely different way of building an agency, really based on that thinking, in hopes of truly being the most competitive offering we could. So anyway, I broke down kind of, and I'm sure Doug and I will get into this in a second more thoroughly, but I broke down the three kind of core things I think about when considering kind of what a great brand or client first agency should aspire for. So first and foremost, you have to truly listen to your clients' needs and be able to anticipate them as quickly as possible, right? You must become a natural extension of their team in order to build trust and become truly useful as an agency. It's kind of a cliche thing to say, being an extension of the team, but it's actually so true. There's nothing that brand wants more than to just hire more people in-house to do the thinking for them and to execute for them quicker, faster, with more context than an agency will ever have. So the faster you can become that extension of their team, kind of model after what the brand, how the brand is built, how the clients work, et cetera, the more successful you'll be. So really doing away with the one size fits all approach and instead build agency teams that really complement the client's in-house staff. If they have strategy director in there, maybe you don't need to put a senior level strategist on it. If they have a social operations team, you should definitely not be staffing social operations folks, and instead take their money and really put it towards unique skill sets that maybe they don't have in-house and really that they're looking for, through the lens of hiring you. So second, you must understand the brand's audience just as well as your clients do. Your team must truly immerse themselves and become fans of the brand. If you're not passionate about the work you're doing, if you're not deeply entrenched in the culture, the client will definitely know. It's often easier for an in-house team to execute a campaign. Like I said earlier, they have the full context, budget at their fingertips. They're really hiring you as an agency to up-level their thinking and expertise. So it's on you to really learn the brand, become a super fan of it, and then create really beyond their wildest dreams, outdo the expectations and all those things we all as agency owners and agency teams aspire to do. And then lastly, that kind of all filters down to strategic hiring. So just like a brand wouldn't hire someone who doesn't have the right experience or background, you have to, as an agency, ensure the team who is assigned to a specific client can authentically speak to the client's voice, audience, and goals, right? Build the team that can best execute the brief. And if that means hiring externally rather than tapping internal resources, you got to do it. Like the whole idea of having just generalists on staff that just kind of shape shift to brands' goals and briefs as they come in is kind of over at this point. If that brand can actually deliver quicker thinking, better thinking, more strategic thinking, and work faster than you, because they have more know-how than you do, then you're pretty irrelevant, right? And you're just kind of wasting their money. So really, I think through the lens of all of this, you can think about ultimately brands especially now, have a really hard time hiring. And so they utilize external agencies to supplement their workload and to bring new thinking in and to obviously push their brand forward outside of the echo chambers they're in. But really, it would be a lot easier if they could just staff those folks in-house and maybe build a production cycle that they become very used to in-house, all of those things. And so the more that an agency can kind of form fit itself to kind of being that extension of the brand, the more successful you're going to be. And I think that's really just coming from my experience working in-house at these brands that have had in-house resources and also tapped external agencies. So at the end of the day, I saw the benefit of both. And it was really the folks and the agencies that externally that truly were able to form fit to what we were doing in-house, the more successful they were. And ultimately our partnerships were at the end of the day.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And this goes back to, because you mentioned, first of all, you're in these highly charged environments where you were.
Yeah.
And very, very highly charged industries as well. I'm not saying that, CPG is different, but it's the vibe of what you were doing, moved at Buzz Lightyear speed. Nice pun there. But and actually, now that I think about it, so you mentioned being an extension of it. There's an agency in Portland, Red & Co, that did a Netflix piece, Make Room, which was really outstanding. And that was additive to what the brand was doing.
Right.
And you saw other examples of that, but it stood out. I mean, it
Yeah.
absolutely stood out. And I think that's a good example of like bringing that next level to it.
Yep.
And bringing that piece to it. It points to something that we talk about a lot in this business, which is this idea of partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And I go back to my time at the Martin Agency and the CEO, Kristen Cavallo. She had this great thing that she always said is that you as the marketer, you're thinking of your advertising 10% of the time. We're thinking about it 100% of the time.
Right.
And so I like this idea of smart staffing, because you're talking about strategic hiring, but really what this turns into is smarter staffing. But how would an agency break themselves from the habit of here's the team, plunk, as opposed to here are the team players? How do they navigate that?
I think you have to think of each project differently. You have to think about what each client's goals are. And of course, ultimately, I think Saylor is, I'd say about 80% of our work right now is social. We've been bridging, especially in the past 6 months or so, into more traditional marketing clients, or clients that are leading with more kind of traditional thinking and then have a social application. But I'm not going to staff social team members against those kind of more traditional brand activations, because ultimately those require a completely new set of thinking and expertise and background and know-how that maybe social team doesn't have. So I think it's also very limiting for an agency to copy and paste teams across different projects. I mean, ultimately, you're gonna reach a limit on thinking and ability, and they just aren't going to understand the space like someone who really lives and breathes it every single day. So that's where it comes down to, opening yourself up, understanding that, Saylor, we're 30 or so staff members right now. We're still pretty small. It's just a matter of kind of form fitting and understanding that you don't know everything in-house today. You still want to be open to every project, and you want to be able to, be successful at every project, but it may require new thinking and new know-how. And that might mean hiring someone completely new, or just bringing in a consultant to help inform your staff and helping guide them along the way.
I think about the importance, because an agency comes in, number one, to solve a business problem.
Yeah.
B, yes, I did that. 1B, comes in with a bit of an outsider's perspective from your experience working with agencies on the brand side. And you don't have to say specific agencies, but which agencies did really well in understanding that hybrid vibe of getting what they need from the in-house teams, but also having that outside perspective to create things that really matter?
Yeah. Let me think. I mean, I think the most successful partnerships were ones that truly were not just around one project. It was something, we were working. I would work mostly in the brand space when I was at Disney and Netflix. So that means I had a regular retainers as well as ongoing partners that I would tap in, on a monthly basis. Those folks that really proved time and time again that it was worth bringing them back were the ones who understood, did their due diligence to understand the landscape internally of what we had built already. It's kind of what you said about that Oregon agency, doing the brand work for Netflix. It's like they knew probably what the internal brand team at Netflix was capable of, and really tasked themselves, and was probably part of the brief, to really think outside of that, but have there be direct implications into what the internal brand team was able to accomplish. So that really came down to putting in the extra effort, not just delivering assets, but actually forming real relationships with all those internal brand team members there to actually ensure that that new big brand project would actually find success on all of the brand channels that they had available at the time. So it's really about doing not only your due diligence to bring in new thinking and obviously create amazing work, but also do the research, understand the audience pipelines at each one of these clients, and make sure that the work you're doing is best suited to reach that brand's audience, utilizing the levers they have available to them.
Right.
So it really came down to just actually putting on a bit more of that curiosity, helmet,
Well,
and just being like, I want to actually understand how this business reaches its audience instead of just throwing money at it on, via paid media, whatever. It's like, we're going to actually find a way for this project to be the most successful it can be. And that might mean going deeper than I would just if I deliver the deliverables at the end of the day.
I got two more questions. One of the things an agency, hopefully likes to do is, get this project and then let's get more. So this idea of upselling, what advice would you give to agencies? Because I've seen it in all form factors where, it's a little early for you to be upselling, or why aren't you upselling me now because you've been doing great work? What advice would you give on that?
I think it has to be, I actually did this recently with a client where I was like, I pinged them. We did a one-off campaign for them. And then suddenly looking at their social channels, I was like, damn, they do a lot of other great work. And I was like, hey, what if you were to give some of that to us? And they just responded with like, your ears must have been burning. Wow, we were just talking about you guys. We're so excited to do XYZ with you guys next year. So I think it's about being human and understanding, kind of like you would if you're going on a date with someone, like understanding timing and understanding that you have to provide value and understanding your value before you reach out for more. But it's just like, you have to understand at the end of the day, when to shoot your shot and hope for the best. But I mean, it's just a timing thing. And you have to understand too, that like, read the room. Did they love working with you? Did they not? Or is it something where there's a natural, fit just from a relationship perspective? Did you befriend your client? Those things are key to upselling, and you can frame it in a much more casual way if you actually have a honest relationship with the client at that time.
Yeah, that's key. All right, final question here. And thank you for sharing all of your insight and your time with us. This is the big question. And we're really glad that you did this. We're so happy that you are an indie agency. but why the hell did you start it? I mean, it's like that's some people are like, he was at Disney, he was at Netflix.
I know.
Why would he go and do something like that? And I'm joking a lot on this, but it's a tough business.
Yeah,
I mean, it
it's hard.
absolutely is, but I believe it can be incredibly rewarding. So what was
Mhm.
the impetus to even start this in the first place?
Yeah. I think I definitely had a bit of that kind of like, well, one, I grew up in New Hampshire, moved out to LA, wanted immediately to do what everyone, wanted to do, which is start a production company with all your friends and just go make movies for the rest of your life. So, I mean, this was like the goal in a different form, and from the very beginning, in that I knew I was creative and I loved working with people. Ultimately, I consider this like Disney and Netflix career as like amazing side missions, side quests along the way to get me to where I am today, which is ultimately making incredible content with incredible people, just like my goal was when I first moved out to LA. I do think ultimately there is, when you're in corporate kind of entertainment, there is the reality that you can master it and it becomes very cyclical, right? A new title
Right.
comes along, a new television show, movie, etc., and you know exactly how to market that thing because you just got off the last one and you know exactly how it worked,
Mm-hmm.
and what was successful, what was not. So I think I just wanted to diversify the work I could do and also work with new people outside of strictly entertainment as
Right.
well, to really kind of achieve those early creative dreams that I had when I first moved to LA.
Listen, people say the same thing to me, like, why the hell are you doing this indie agency news thing? So I
Yeah.
get it.
Hey,
Here's
I love it. I'm
I,
here for it. I mean,
I appreciate that.
yeah,
And I'm here for the work that you're doing down there. I mean, it's my dirty little secret, and I'm not supposed to say this, is I do love Los Angeles and I do love Southern California.
that's awesome.
So now it's publicly on the record, and people in
There you
Oregon
go.
are going to get upset. Here's my favorite term in entertainment: key
Mhm.
art. I love key art.
Oh yeah,
And
key
Cle-
art.
Clio Entertainment Awards, I don't know when the deadline is, but I love the key art category.
Too good. Yeah, no, it's so unique.
What's another term, like an industry term? And don't do what like Variety or the Hollywood Reporter, don't call it Bafo or, whatever. What is another favorite entertainment term that you like?
Oh God. First look. That's like first look is so good because
Yeah,
it just means images.
right.
It just means literally pictures from set. It's just like first look. You're like, okay, well, it could be anything, but it has to be these images from set.
Oh my God.
So,
So
man,
funny. So funny.
begging to be disrupted.
Begging to be disrupted. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. Will, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for
Our
having me.
our maiden indie thinking live. This was outstanding, and Will, best wishes for continued success.
Yeah. Same to you, Doug. This has
Thanks,
been
man.
great.
All
All right.
righty. Thanks.
Later.